Keeping up with the news, huh?
Yeah. Non-stop, isn't it?
Non-stop. Let me go ahead and get started. Jermall Teams with Fight Hub TV, sponsored by Stagefront VIP. Later when you get through the news, you'll see the tweet that I put against the big
it
opponent.
scared the life out of me. I was actually putting a tweet out and I just felt this thing next to me. I looked up and I didn't really know what to do.
I told Regis, I said, man, it looked like that was going to be your first fight because he almost knocked him out when he putting his hand down. So I was like, it's pretty good atmosphere here for the
really
weigh-in of Regis and Zorilla. So a lot of big news just came up, just yesterday. I want to get your thoughts on it overall. The one that we talked about, and I want to pick it up again, is the Canelo Charlo. They're saying it sounds like it could be a solid fight, could take place in September. Do you feel like that's the direction Canelo wants to take?
I don't think it's necessarily the direction that he wants to take, but I think with the Bivol fight stalling, I think the Charlo fight is probably the favourite and front runner. I spoke to Eddie Reynoso yesterday. We didn't really talk much about the Charlo fight. That's his business. That's obviously if he takes that fight, we're not involved with that, and we'll just work with him on the next one or the plans for the next one. But Bivol was the fight that he wanted, but we can't make it happen at the moment. So until we can make it happen, he has to look at his other options, and it sounds like Charlo is the favourite of those.
Going back to what we were talking about yesterday, the critics are being very hard on Canelo. Is but Charlo's coming off a 2-year layoff. There's no other opponent at the moment that could I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, like the way I look at it is this: Canelo's always going to get criticism. I think he's earned the right to fight whoever he wants. Now it's up to you if you want to watch it. Do you know what I mean? You can't. I don't think you can really criticise a Charlo fight. I don't think you can criticise a Badu Jack fight. I don't think you can criticise a Bivol fight, a Benavidez fight. They're all elite fighters, but you can have your opinion on it. You can say that, Charlo's been out for 2 years, that's actually the easiest of them. Badu Jack's never really beaten anyone of major note, and blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, that's just opinion. So he's earned the right to fight whoever he wants, and I think they're all solid fights.
It's going to be a good fight overall. I believe it's going to be a good fight. I'm just reading the social media critics. I'm sure
don't do that too much. It's not good for your health.
Yeah, I know. But Charlo, going back, if you quickly break that fight down for us, Charlo had his fight 2 years ago. I was there in San Antonio against Montel, and he got a lot of criticism because it was
awful.
a very, 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 very
Look,
close fight.
You can't expect Charlo to be competitive against Canelo in a September fight, coming off 2 years, like what we saw in the Montiel fight. I mean, I saw him on FaceTime with Demetrius Andrade the other day. I mean, it didn't look like he was very close to being able to fight. But he's a good fighter, Charlo, and he's a good character, and good luck to him. Yeah,
they were even talking about that fight could possibly take place in Houston or in Dallas, just because, if I'm not mistaken, UFC has something already booked for the Team in September. Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting fight overall. But the critics are going to come and go. Flipping the pitch on this, I'm sure you've seen that the skills challenge is coming up, and they've already added to their stable per se. They already have Alexander Usyk. Deontay Wilder's, they're luring him in as well. Devin Haney is the next one. What's your overall thoughts on that? I know you said if provided that Regis wins this Saturday night, you're trying to make that fight, offer that fight for Devin Haney next year, for Matchroom.
Yeah, we'd love to. I mean, we'd love to do that fight in Saudi, here in the US, and we work very closely with Skills Challenge. I think it's good that they're signing. I don't know what their long-term plan is. Obviously, they don't have a broadcaster, and I don't believe they're looking to stage lots of fights in Saudi Arabia, just big moments, but I guess they can work with anyone, just because you sign with Skills Challenge, it doesn't mean that it stops another fight from happening. Prince Khalid wants to make the best fights, and whether the Devin Haney fight is with Matchroom or with Skills Challenge and Matchroom or whatever it is against Prograis, doesn't really matter.
But with all these promotions coming up, and they keep bringing more attraction to the eyes, sometimes it feels like it could be difficult to make these fights. You have ESPN, you have Top Rank, the Zone, Matchroom, and the Zone, Golden Boy, and sometimes that's what kind of gets the fights kind of get stalled or get stopped. Do you feel like that could possibly go in that direction, possibly with another promotion in place, or would you think it'd be easier maybe with the?
Not really, because a lot of fighters have broadcast obligations and contracts. So just because you have Devin Haney, all his opponents have contracts with other broadcasters. So we're still in the same position. But hopefully we can get the big fights made.
yeah, hopefully we get that fight made. You know, all these fights coming up, and even especially in the heavyweight. You know, even the rumors coming up of those big 4 heavyweights fighting at the end of the year. You think that's possibly going to be made? You know, Wilder, Joshua.
Yeah, I can't speak for the others, but you know, I think that Fury is Fury. Usyk has signed with Skills Challenge, so you'd have to say he's in. Wilder sounds like he might sign with Skills Challenge, so he's in. We're in, subject to contract. So, yeah, I think there's a good chance. I mean, you know, we want to make Joshua against Wilder, whatever happens. But we'll see what happens over the next few weeks with that quartet.
Joshua, staying on the Joshua topic, you know, you just said that you're going to go visit him in Dallas. What's, you know, the status of his next fight? Who can we see?
He wants to fight August 12th, and that's what we're planning. You know, we wanted to make the Dillian Whyte fight. I don't think that will get over the line. But we'll see. You know, obviously we're gearing up towards Deontay Wilder in December, but we'll see what happens over the next week to lock in August 12th.
Would you like to exercise a fight for him here in the United States? Because, you know, we haven't seen him.
Yeah,
fight
maybe.
here.
I don't think that's a priority, but I think, you know, he would certainly love to fight in America again.
2 more questions for me. Something I forgot to ask you yesterday, something that was brought up on social media as well. I know, I'm sorry, I'm saying it again over about social media because I stay there reading. The comment also when I spoke with Max Kellerman last week about the Undisputed, that Teofimo kind of got me a little bit, like, to be honest with you, confused. He said he's undisputed twice. And I was, you know, people were...
Yeah, I mean, he's not really undisputed once, but when he beat Loma, he won the WBC Franchise Championship. You can't unify with that belt. So therefore, Devin Haney was WBC champion at the time. It was a mess. He 100% should have been unified, undisputed in that fight. But actually he wasn't. This time around, it's actually nowhere near an undisputed fight. I mean, it was one belt.
That's what I was...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But listen, you can't also knock what Teo's done. And what I would say is, he's got an argument to say he beat the best fighter in the division twice. I mean, I think Regis is number 1 in the division, but Josh Taylor's got a great resume as well. So what he could say is, I beat the man twice.
To be the man beat.
But he never, I mean, like I said, there's definitely an argument he was undisputed at lightweight, but there's no argument at 140. He won 1 belt. You have to own every belt in the division to be undisputed. But Teo's Teo. I like, you know, and I can't believe he vacated it as well.
Yeah, it was immediate.
Mental. I mean, like, you know, really. Look, I say bad advice, but if he doesn't care and he genuinely wants to retire, good luck to him. He's earned the right to do whatever he wants to do, you know?
That's going to my next question. Due to what, you know, Earl Spence comments, you know, we're in New York a couple of days ago, and he kept on questioning about the 3% of his purse going towards the organizations. What's your overall thought about that? Because that's also that Andre Ward spoke up on social media. He said a while ago, that's just the argument, I guess, the fighters are continuing to ask him, where's this money going to? And we need to have more transparency. I know the WBC has been transparent and show demonstration of where that money is going to, but what is your overall thought on that, you know, working with the different organizations of the sanctioning body?
Look, it's a lot of money, and sometimes it's very awkward for us because we're in the middle, right? So when a fighter fights, the governing body will come to us and say, right, here's ultimately the bill, the invoice for the fighter. We then have to go to the fighter and say, right, you've got to pay the WBC, WBA this amount. They go to us. Fuck that, we ain't paying that much. And I say, no, it's the rules. Then the governing body gets angry with us because we're in a dispute, whereas we're kind of stuck in the middle of the whole thing. I do think that some of the governing bodies do some great work within the community, you know, within drug testing, within aftercare, within insurance, and Maurizio Sulaiman leads the way in that respect. I also feel that it's a lot of money. You know, you got to understand, I've done AJ fights where he's paying $500,000, $1 million in sanction fees to governing bodies for those fights. Canelo the same. So I think maybe it's good if the governing bodies showed more to the fighters about what they were doing, because I think the fighters get it, and I think the fighters would like the money, if it's going to the governing bodies, to be used for the benefit of the sport. So maybe it's just the communication process between the governing bodies to the fighters to say, look, we know you pay a lot of money, but let me just show you what happens. And you know, it's a tough one, because I understand Errol Spence's arguments at the same time. I understand the rules of the governing body, and a lot of the time we're in the middle trying to broker the peace between everybody.
hypothetically, if you were able to make a change for that, and for the 3% that the fighters are questioning, because I believe now, and even Teofimo brought it up in his post-press conference at the end of the fight, he said, man, to be honest with you, I don't even want to hold this belt because of all that money. Andre Ward said, you win the belt, you hold it, you're like, man, this is amazing. But then when that check comes, you're like, oh.
And the worst thing about it is you pay all that money, and then the next day you get a letter saying you have to fight this person, and negotiations have been done. I've got to be honest with you, like when AJ had the belts, it was very difficult to deal with all the politics of the governing bodies. And now, obviously, I want him to be world champion, but now he doesn't have the belt. It's quite nice that you don't have mandatories, you can take your time, you can maneuver, you can do this, so yeah.
Well, Eddie, we have a great night. We're looking forward for a great night tomorrow here in New Orleans, and hope to see you wherever, because every time we catch up,
New York next week or whatever, but New Orleans first tomorrow night, fight, live on the zone. I
mean, even touching on that, the Berlanga fight, you saw the screenshot that Billy Joe Saunders sent him,
sure, it's a big fight. You know, Berlanga's got some massive fights. There's a lot of pressure on Berlanga next week. Huge crowd, a lot of attention. So, and Quigley's coming to fight, so looking forward to it.
Eddie, you actually think that Berlanga, do you actually, the Berlanga fight could, be exercised with Canelo?
Sure, but he needs the right wins. A couple of solid wins, and he's right in the frame for that.